Hello, and welcome to the very first official episode of Figgy in the North, the podcast where your Iceland travel questions get answered, your itinerary gets a whole lot smarter, and where we dive deep into one of the most unique, beautiful, occasionally crazy places on Earth, Iceland. I'm Figgy, your friendly guide, storyteller, travel nerd, and someone who very unexpectedly fell in love. Twice. Today's episode is part introduction, part story time, part gentle warning, and part love letter to a country that changed my life. We'll talk about who I am, how Iceland found me, why this podcast exists, and what you can expect if you stick around. And trust me, it's not your textbook Iceland origin story. So get cozy, grab a warm drink if you can, and let's start from the beginning. Who I am and how Iceland found me. So hi, I'm Figgy. At least that's what everyone calls me. And at this point it feels more like my real name than anything else. Unlike a lot of people who fall in love with Iceland, I didn't grow up dreaming of waterfalls or pinning photos of black sand beaches on a vision board. I didn't have a lifelong obsession with Nordic countries. I wasn't chasing the Northern Lights. Honestly, I knew very little about the country itself. I knew it was cold, I knew it had volcanoes, and I knew the language looked like someone spilled alphabet soup and then added a few letters just to mess with us. Ones I wasn't even sure how to pronounce. That was about it. What I did have were a couple of really close friends I met online. Yes, online friends. People I talked to constantly, people I played games with, laughed with, stayed up way too late chatting with, and shared real life with long before we ever met face to face. Over time, those friendships became solid and meaningful. The kind where you know someone's humor, their values, their bad days, even if you've never been in the same room. And one day, I realized something wild. I wanted to visit them in Iceland. Now, here's the part where I should tell you I carefully planned everything, researched for months, watched 100 videos, and made spreadsheets. Except I didn't. I had never left the United States. I had never traveled alone. I had barely flown. And yet, I booked a ticket. A birthday trip. A leap of faith. No major research. No huge expectations. No real plan beyond get there and don't panic. I didn't fully understand what I was getting myself into. I just went. And that first trip, it changed everything. Because one of those online friends eventually became my husband. But here's the twist. While I was falling in love with him, I was also falling completely, helplessly in love with Iceland itself. The moment I stepped off the plane into the cold Icelandic air, which was so clean it honestly didn't even feel real, something clicked. I felt calm. I felt present. I felt home. That doesn't usually happen to me in new places. I'm someone who needs time to adjust. But Iceland didn't ask for time. It just wrapped itself around me and said, "Oh, you're supposed to be here." After that first visit, I didn't simply want to go back. I had to. I went again, and then again, and then again. 5 times in just over a year. Who does that? Apparently I do. But Iceland has that effect on people. It's magnetic, it's dramatic, it's quietly intense, it's soft and harsh all at the same time. I started exploring beyond Reykjavik, beyond the postcard stops everybody else goes to. I traveled through different regions during different seasons, looked at things under different lights. I learned the culture, the humor, the rhythm of the days, the silence, the way coffee breaks are sacred, the way people trust the forecast, but also don't. And the weather. Oh, the weather. Which I lovingly describe as having the emotional stability of a toddler who skipped their nap. Somewhere along the way, I became that person. The one friends message with questions like, "Hey Figgy, should I rent a 4x4 in March? Is this hot spring real or is it AI? Do we really need waterproof pants?" Is it normal that the wind tried to steal my car door? Yes. Yes. Absolutely yes. And yes, unfortunately. And I love those questions. I truly do. Because helping someone prepare for Iceland feels like letting them in on a secret. Which brings us here to this podcast. So what is this podcast all about? Think of Figgy in the North as your friendly, honest, real-world guide to traveling in Iceland. Not influencer perfect, not rushed, not sugar-coated. This show is for you if you're planning your first trip and feel overwhelmed. You've been before and want to go deeper. You want to understand why things are the way they are. You want real advice from someone who's actually made mistakes. You want stories, context, and cultural insights. Each episode will talk about planning and logistics, season and weather reality checks, packing smarter, cultural expectations, destinations both famous and overlooked, and the things guidebooks don't always tell you. Your questions are a huge part of this show. This is a conversation, not a lecture. And if I don't know something, we'll figure it out together. So let me tell you about 2 moments that perfectly sum up what Iceland is like. My first trip was in early December. Peak darkness, peak winter energy. I stepped outside feeling confident. Had a good coat, warm hat, waterproof-ish boots. What I was not prepared for was the wind. This wasn't just any wind. This was horizontal chaos. I opened the door and immediately had to lean my entire body sideways just to stay upright. I'm honestly amazed I didn't end up airborne. Meanwhile, my Icelandic partner is casually walking along like, "This is nothing. It's just a breeze," he says. That's when I learned something important. Icelanders don't fight the weather. They negotiate with it. Now, let me balance that one with one of the most magical moments of my life. It was a still winter night, one of those rare nights where the wind takes a break. I hadn't yet seen the northern lights, despite several trips during the right season. Clouds were my biggest enemy, but that night it was different. I remember standing on my mother-in-law's patio, looking up at the dark sky, and then the sky started moving. A green streak appeared, then it widened, then it twisted, then the whole sky rippled with light, a flowing river of green light right over my head. I'd seen photos and I'd seen videos. None of them prepared me for that moment. Tears came to my eyes. It still happens when I catch the northern lights. It felt like the universe was putting on a private show. And it was right then I understood. You don't just see Iceland. You feel it. What you'll learn in this podcast. My goal is to help you plan smarter, travel safer, spend your money wisely, choose the right seasons and routes, understand the culture, avoid the common pitfalls, and experience the real magic of Iceland. We'll talk about things like, should I drive the ring road? When do you book accommodations? Is the Blue Lagoon worth it? How do you plan for unpredictable weather? And what do locals wish tourists knew? If you've got a question, whether it's serious, silly, logistical, or weird, send it in. Let's talk about it. What's coming in episode 1? In the next episode, we'll jump into one of the most important topics of all. How to plan your first Iceland trip. Trust me, you want to hear this one before you book anything. Don't be like me and go in without a plan. So, that's the story. An online friendship, a leap of faith, a country I never expected to love, and a life that shifted north. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so excited to share what I've learned, and I cannot wait to help you create your own Iceland story. Thank you for listening to this introduction to Figgy in the North. Make sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss episode 1. And if you already have a burning Iceland question, send it my way. I might feature it on an upcoming episode. I'm Figgy, and I'll see you next time in the North.